Alright, welcome to Game 3 between Gordian Vorenthul and Veldi. Veldi playing as the War Boss, which I think is more his kind of style of race, and Gordian playing Chaos Sorcerer, so this will be his third match playing as Chaos. Sorcerer is pretty strong against the Orcs in general, but the War Boss is one of the toughest units, or toughest heroes for him to face, because the Sorcerer's strengths are AoE damage, typically. And these kind of bruiser melee heroes, that's kind of the one thing that does nothing to them is like AoE damage. They got so much health, strong single target damage. You really need like single target focus fire to deal with them, and that's something Chaos struggles with in Tier 1. Because all you really have for that is CSMs and Havocs. That's something the Plague Champion can do pretty well with his Bolter. Whereas Sorcerer, like don't get me wrong, his Flame Sword does a lot of damage, a lot more than people think. But he's rather squishy himself, so he tends to lose anyway, even if he's doing a lot more damage. So, pretty standard opening from Gordian and Veldi. Double shooters, Heretic, CSM. That's as standard as it gets. CSMs are pretty good against shooters, especially in this early stage of the game. I'm somewhat partial if you got double CSM or double Heretics is getting a grenade launcher on one of them against Orcs. Because big shooters tend to have a lot of damage on two models. Oh, this is a very bad engagement for these Heretics here. They're going to die here on the retreat. Getting hit by that stomp on the War Boss really took the life out of them. But these shooters are losing a lot of models, and the second Heretic does show up in here. They have everything you can tend to get. You see Tex do this sometimes, is he gets the spiky armor on the War Boss, which is kind of a... what do you call it? A luxurious purchase, but it does mean that the Heretics really can't even try and fight him. So, depending on the situation, it does provide a pretty strong deterrent. Heretics are most of the Chaos DPS in Tier 1, and if they don't want to fight you because they're taking a ton of damage, and also Stomp is a big threat to them, and this second Heretic squad is going to get away, but it took a ton of model losses there. I think the Sorcerer got a nice Doombolt on the Slugger here, forcing it to retreat. And War Boss, he's down to a third of his health, but he just gets into melee with the CSMs. Doesn't matter. Does big fat hits in melee. Using the Warship here, he's getting the spiky armor to deter the Heretics. Being a bit risky here, though, might have to go home. Yep. So, we're probably going to see Storm Boys from Veldi, if I could bet my mittens on that. Double Big Shooter upgrade coming out here. I'm somewhat partial to get into Knob before the Big Shooter in a matchup like this, because it lets them really force melee on the CSMs, whereas the Big Shooter increases the range damage, which is good, but the Heretics are more threatening in melee. CSM sticking way too long here, needed to just retreat, taking a model loss unnecessarily there. Trying to get that one shooter squad, not going to get it though. No Burnus though on this Slugger squad. Map control mostly Gordian's hands here, able to secure the left side with his Sorcerer, and the skirmishing on the right side has been mostly going in his favor. Sticking around way too long with the CSM though. I think you go home, you start healing, reinforce. There's no reason to posture here. You're not going to really win this. War Boss coming up here, you're just going to retreat later, and then spend more time in your base. He did actually cancel the spiky armor on the War Boss. And Burnez coming up. Gonna force off these squad. Get into shooter knobs right away, so maybe we're just going to see just a ton of investment in these three squads. Custom Shooter can be a really good choice against Sorcerer, because you can just knock him on his ass. And you can even cancel Doombolts for that if you're quick about it. Doombolt hitting the Slugger pretty much dead on. Something you gotta kind of keep in mind when you're playing against Sorcerer is to try and be a little unpredictable if you're pathing until you bait out the Doombolts. I think these guys are actually on range stance, bit of a mistake there, and they're gonna get forced off by this stuff, this business over here. And maybe a bit of an overextension of the War Boss here. Yeah, he's just going heavy on the shooters. We're going to get some Noise Marines. That's going to be a pretty solid counter to the shooters. Hello. It depends on the situation. Oh, he did actually get the spike armor at this point again, so that is going to scare off the Heretics. You notice that Gordian is investing more in his Heretics than he is in his Sorcerer. Just getting the Power Sword now. A lot of times DC players, first thing they get almost is, it feels like the Power Sword. Using a retreat there to just shrug off the Doombolts. The other thing with getting that shooting up first is the Doom Bolt is less impactful. And spiky armor going to bounce a lot of damage back on these heretics. Might be worth it if he can snipe the war boss, but I don't think he's going to get him, unfortunately. Level 2 on the war boss, almost level 2 on the sorcerer. Sorcerer levels up pretty consistently in early game compared to a lot of heroes because those Doom Bolts just get so many model losses, especially against like heretics or sluggas or shooters. Getting a Wog banner up here, that's a good choice. I forget what it does entirely, but I'm sure it's good. If I were to guesstimate, I think it's like damage resistance, probably bonus damage, but who knows what that stuff does anymore. But that's a good spot to put it. Can be a little tricky to click on it, even tricky to notice it's there, quite frankly. Using Frazzle Dazzle, I forget what that does too. They used to do like this stupid like earthquake thing that was super strong and overpowered, but that was a decade ago. Who knows what it does now? And who cares? Anyway, right? So Veldi is almost able to go tier 2, taking a big Doom Bolt there. Again, you don't want to blob up like this against Sorcerer. You want to split your squads up. So just going to retreat the Slugger Boy there. Going tier 2 though. So if you're in this position as Veldi and you're going tier 2, you just want to play defensive, I think. And Gordian is a bit behind. He's got map control advantage, a little bit of a VP advantage. But he does have these extra requisition points on the side, fully matured. So that's something to keep in mind. You don't want to take a fight against someone with more requisition than you, because you'll bleed, they'll bleed, they will absorb that bleed a lot more than you will. Oh, very good dodge on that Doom Bolt there, but it might just take too much damage anyway. Getting the angry bits on the Warboss, he's going to commit to an engagement here. Doing a ton of damage and knockdown on all these units. That was pretty good timing too. And spiky armor is going to make all these heretics take a ton of bonus damage using Ard Boys as well. So these shooters might get forced off here, but these heretics are just going to take a ton of damage from the Warboss. You can just see a Warboss, and even fighting hand melee, like these heretics are taking so much damage. And Noise Brain's getting pretty low. I think he could actually stuck that out longer, to be honest. Forcing a retreat of all of Gordian's stuff with a start at tier 2. Pretty good engagement overall for Veldi. Well played. Gonna get the center VP. Gonna probably kill this node. Probably gonna cap that. And Veldi being a bit indecisive about what he wants in tier 2 here. Now, if it was me, I would probably get stick bombs. And the reason I like stick bombs is because heretics have a pretty large squad formation. You're gonna get some good value out of that there. The other thing is heretics are pretty good against Noise Brain, CSM, they're pretty slow. And also, you can stun the Blood Crusher, so you just get the Power Claw on the Warboss, get the Stick Bombs, and that's lots of anti-vehicle. Doom Bolts just doing tons of damage from pretty far away. You're gonna force those guys to retreat. Going for a Weird Boy instead. Weird Boy is good, too. I think Weird Boy might struggle a little bit against the Blood Crusher. Weird Boy doesn't have melee resist also, so you gotta be careful about that. The Sorcerer, Heretics, Noise Marines can also cancel his abilities. And yeah, Gordian likes that Blood Crusher, so that's going to come out here. But we're going to have one more engagement here. Warboss is getting in the thick of things. Slugga's using Swamp Him, dodging the Doom Bolts, using Use Your Choppas on the Heretics, and do some more special attacks. And that's a pretty scary engagement for these Heretic squads. They are actually going to die. That's pretty deadly. And the second Heretic squad has the Coruscating Flames, but again, against the Warboss doesn't care. Spiky Armor bounces back, does a ton of damage to the Heretic squad there. Getting this wreck point over there is good decap. And Gordian lost one of his Heretic squads. Weird Boy coming up, doing a ton of damage to this one. Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe I just like stick bombs more than I should, but I really would like some stick bombers. Get the Power Claw, stick bombers, have a good day. Getting some upgrades on the Weird Boy. Weird Boy is pretty good at denying capping as well with his knockdown. And Noise Marines, I don't think you need to run from that. I think you just force melee with the shooter knob and you'll be Noise Marines in melee. No problemo, bro. Power Claw is also really scary for the Blood Crusher because the Blood Crusher does not have melee resist. So that's a lot of damage per hit. Back in the day when melee weapons used to be really scary for walkers, and now less so, but still scary for the Blood Crusher. Good for tank busters. I don't think you need tank busters. I think that's an overreaction. I think you get that big claw, you zone out the Blood Crusher from engaging you, and then you just jump in on all the infantry. Warboss really committed to this fight though, knocking the Sorcerer down before he can get the full Doom Bolt off here. Sometimes I wonder if it would be cool if Spiky Armor would also hurt the Blood Crusher, but I don't think that's going to happen. Warboss does need to go now though. Blood Crusher's gonna get a few hits here on retreat. Not enough to kill him, though. Weird Boy taking a lot of damage from these Bloodletters, though. That's what happens when you don't have melee resist. Bloodletter squad coming from Gordian, forcing a full retreat from Veldi here, and reclaiming this left side. But Veldi's doing a much better job of keeping the VPs even, and this Tankbuster squad is going to pretty much hard counter this Blood Crusher. But the problem is, what do you do after you hard counter Blood Crusher? Maybe you go bash some gens, you barrage some heretics or something. We got the teleport on the sorcerer. Oh, sorry, no, this is a Drips of Torment with the chains. That's a pretty good choice in most situations. I don't think it's going to be especially useful here because Shudas are pretty high damage that is going to blast it, as are Tank Busters or the Weird Boy. But it might be handy against the War Boss in a pinch. Level 4 War Boss, almost level 5 War Boss, getting a ton of XP off of killing those heretics. No upgrades for the Chaos Space Marines at this point. Double Tank Busters? Bitch, you crazy. Okay, yeah, you cancel that. No, you don't need that. Jesus. Getting Power Claw. So if you're Veldi, I still like the Stick Bombers. I feel like that's just still generally useful. But also, you could just get a Death Dread. And that'll be pretty tough for Gordian to counter, because he has no anti-vehicle other than this little Blood Crusher, which loses to the Death Dread. And the War Boss, obviously. Once the War Boss gets level 5, he also becomes super scary to even Bloodletters, because they are never going to be able to special attack him, and also he's going to special attack them extremely frequently. Level 5 versus level 4, that's like 75 melee skill to 70. So, yeah, see, this is why the chains are not super good against orcs. They just blast the chains down, and yeah, you don't get much value out of that. Using the Bloodletters teleport in on the Sluggas of all things. Bloodletters don't trade good against Sluggas on a good day, and definitely not if you use your Choppas. War Boss, unfortunately, specials on the Blood Crusher. Tank Busters finish it off. Bloodletters are going to lose another model, maybe even 2, on retreat here to the Power Claw. And Sorcerer Doombolt's becoming less and less effective as these Shooter Boys level up. Level 3 on almost both of them here. And Gordian's going for a Chaos Dreadnought. That can be good here because you get the Mark of Khorne. That becomes really scary for this kind of Tank Buster, War Boss kind of strategy. Veldi going tier 3, that's a good choice to get a looted tank. That will definitely, like, that strategy hard counters this Dreadnought. But there might be a window for this Dreadnought to kind of keep Gordian in the game. He's going to lose his generators pretty fast here to Tank Buster Weird Boy. Slugga. Noise Marines disrupting this rocket barrage, unfortunately, and doing a ton of damage to Tank Busters. Getting hit by the Doom Blast might actually go down here. Sluggas getting in melee a little late here and doing some knockdown. Doesn't really matter too much. War Boss is decapping over here, not really contributing. Warp Vomit going down. I think if you're Veldi here, you just pull back, nice and calm. He can't quite afford it, but if he does get to the position where he has 200 red, using Call the Boys would be pretty good here. Save himself some money. Cost efficiency wise, Call the Boys can be a little tricky. It's really more of a win the engagement button, but I don't know, someone can do the math. How many models you need to replace to pay for 250 rack? It's probably several, but I think he lost enough there that would definitely balance out. War Boss just going to get more XP off these heretics. Using the Stomp though, maybe not actually. But War Boss is very quickly. He can also get the heavy armor in tier 3, and that becomes even scarier because that's like 2k plus health. And I'll just walk all over Gordian. I think the Cyborg bits also give some health regen. Yeah, during the charge you get 7.5 health regen per second, so that's scary. I'm assuming he's just going to get a looted tank though, and that'll be pretty... There's a Frazzle Dazzle, give some damage buff, go into the fight, and yeah, we do have Mark of Khorne coming up on this Chaos Dreadnought. We've got a Noise Blaster, that'll be handy, but hitting the War Boss kind of makes it a little useless. War Boss is just going to get into melee. Using the chains to disrupt the War Boss. War Boss taking a ton of damage. Oh, if he wasn't for that knockback, he might have actually killed it on retreat, but War Boss does get away to live another day. Something that would be good here is the icon of Tzeentch. Especially with the Chaos Dreadnought, you just put that on whatever squad is being targeted by the Chaos Dreadnought. Getting knobs instead of looted tank, that is a very interesting choice. That is suboptimal. against Chains of Torment, against Mark of Core Dreadnought, against Noise Blaster. You definitely just go for a looted tank in this position. Big Weird Boy hit there, doing a big chunk of damage to those CSMs. Yeah, I think the Icon of Zine should be really good because you put that on any of these infantry squads, you blow up a model, AoE knockback, damage, percent health, I think 15% damage to anything nearby. And that just kind of snowballs really fast. Bloodletters haven't been very useful overall. So definitely good to just turn them into a captain squad. VPs are pretty much tied at 330 with a slight advantage for Gordian. But we do got the knobs coming out, and Gordian invested quite heavily into tier 2 with the Bloodletters and the Dreadnought. So what can he really get to deal with that? Well, probably, I want to say Inferno Bolters, but I don't know if that's optimal. I think he'd just get a Havoc squad and just play crowd control. Havoc squad in general would be pretty good against this composition. Knobs just getting all their upgrades, so taking a lot of free damage there from that Blastmaster. Blastmaster is a very solid counter to Knobs, especially for cost. Sorcerer going over here to cap. I don't think he needs that. I think Gordian needs to do some damage. Veldi does have a lot of upkeep at this point though, so he can't really buy anything new, but Gordian also has a fair amount of upkeep, so going tier 3 here is not the best. I would almost say you just get a second Dreadnought and just go ham. Setting up the Noise Master over here. I think actually Havoc would be better though. Just get that crowd control. Hitting the knobs, I don't know if he toggled that before he got hit. I think he did. Dreadnought getting in there with the War Boss and the Tank Busters, but he needs to get in there to tie up the Tank Busters with something. Bloodletters should be the ones doing that, but they are going after the knobs instead. He can save the Dreadnought with the Warp, which I think is what he's going to do here, but he doesn't have enough red, so the Dreadnought is actually going to die. War Boss might actually kill this Aspiring Champion. Nope, Dreadnought goes down for no good reason. Bloodletters do a ton of damage to these knobs, but I think he really needed those on the Tank Busters instead. So he might win the engagement. Emphasis on might. I'm not quite certain of that at this point, but even if he wins the engagement, I think he lost the war. Although that does free up a lot of upkeep for a Predator in tier 3, which might actually be worth it in the long run. But we will have a looted tank, I think, from Veldi pretty soon here. And he does maintain the map control, although somehow Gordian got this VP up here. A Wog Banner down here too, not the most useful thing. Something you can also get against these kind of, against knobs, is you just get a Corn Shrine that spawns Bloodletters, because they do power melee damage. They can also be really annoying at tying stuff up, although Tank Busters do kill those really fast, so yeah, it can go either way, I guess. But yeah, I think the Bloodletters have not been really paying for themselves in this situation for Mr. Gordian. And using the Sorcerer to go cap, I think, is a mistake. I think you just send the CSM to go cap. It's the least impactful unit at this point. Warboss is level 6 versus level 3 Sorcerer, so that's really starting to get really scary. And looted tank coming from Veldi in 3. Okay, not 3, 2, 1 because it's way longer than that, but you know what I mean. Pretty soon, like right now-ish, would be a good time. After this fight, you know, when you're done microing, looted tank. You love to see it. Yeah, maybe not. You should, but it doesn't look like it. Using this blood sacrifice a lot, or summoning circle with the sorcerer, I don't think that's really worth it. I think you need to save your red for warp, or something else. So still no feature unit from Veldi. There's the looted tank finally. Second Bloodletter for Gordian. He's really concerned about these knobs, but I don't think that's why he's losing. Like, the knobs are tanking a lot, of course, but one squad of Bloodletters is already doing just fine. So I think that second Bloodletter is a mistake from Gordian. I think he really needed either a Havoc or even a second Noise Marine. Second Blastmaster might actually be good. The second Bloodletter might work out okay, but I think the War Boss is so beefed up that I think you're just gonna get whacked by a giant Power Claw, and that'll be that. And Sorcerer might actually go down here. The War Boss can pretty much solo this entire army by himself, quite frankly. He's very close to that point. If he gets heavy armor, he almost certainly could. Oh, no, he still has spiky armor. Okay. Yeah, the War Boss is very quickly approaching the point where he just wins the game by himself. And second Bloodletter comes out against this looted tank. So, and second Bloodletter. Oh, this is the first Bloodletter, so that's even worse. He's losing the level 2 Bloodletter to the War Boss here, I think. I think he will die. He might just barely get away here. But it looks like Veldi is going to take game 3 with a pretty commanding lead most of this game. I think if Veldi had got a looted tank earlier instead of that Knob Squad, he would have already won. Something about tank busters too is they actually give quite a lot of experience compared to some squads per model. 125 per model, which is fairly high considering how easy they are to kill. So if you want to level up your heroes, just go whack some tank busters, and you will level up very fast. War Boss taking a ton of damage from the Bloodletters. Looted tank taking a ton of free damage from the Blastmaster. War Boss actually might actually go down here. And Looted tank taking a big shot to the butt there. Ouchies. But yeah, Knobs and Sluggas are just gonna mob onto these Bloodletters. And Blastmaster is doing the work for sure. But it's not enough, I think, to keep Gordian in this match. Weird Boy over here, not capping, I think. He's just doing Weird Boy stuff. Repairing the Slugga over here. I think, whoa, yeah, big hit on the Shooter Boys. The Noise Master. Noise Master is doing the business. Sorcerer going to go down here, and unfortunately that shot gets absorbed entirely. And Gordian calls it there, GG. So Veldi does secure game 3.